Assalamu alaikum, welcome back. Okay, we're continuing with reflections on the Fatihah. Okay, so we are now at verse 3, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. And we said, of course, that we had put off Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim in when we said Bismillah Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, that we would save Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim for verse 3. And so this, of course, applies to both. And a great deal has been said regarding the Arabic of Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim. Here it's translated as the most compassionate, the most merciful, and that is the typical English translation. But that really doesn't, I think, do justice to the expansive meaning. Some have said that Ar-Rahman means a general justice, a mercy to all. For example, like the rain. Rain is a mercy to the believer, the unbeliever, to people, to animals, to plants, and so forth. And that it is also a general mercy that encompasses God's mercy in this world and the hereafter. So that is how some people have envisioned Ar-Rahman, that it is the most general form of mercy, whereas Ar-Rahim is a more specific mercy, and it is a mercy to the believers. That is that portion of mercy that is further extended to the believers, both in this world and in the hereafter. That is certainly one way to look at it, but I would like to delve a little bit more into the Arabic construction here, and so we'll walk through a little bit of Arabic on the next couple of slides, inshallah. So to delve into Ar-Rahman and Ar-Rahim a little bit more, I'd like to kind of digress a little bit to something more general and talk about, a note on Arabic derivations. Some Arabists feel that everything in Arabic starts with the verb, and that everything is then derived from the verb. So, for example, in English, we may have the verb eat, and then the person who does the eating, the noun there, would be the eater, and eater is derived from eat. But in Arabic, the derivations are more expansive. So you can have eat, then the person who does the eating, that's the eater, similar to English. That in Arabic is known as ism al-fa'il, the name of the actor. It's simply who is the person doing this verb, and the person doing the eating is the eater. But in Arabic, you can also derive something else from the verb eat to show that he's not just an eater, but he's a super eater. And that is known in Arabic as sighat al-mubalagha, the construction of excess or exaggeration. And I know that in English, excess and exaggeration have a negative connotation. That is not what is meant here at all. It simply means that you're not just an eater, you're a super eater. You are the one who not just does the verb, but who does the verb with a great intensity, with a very, very exaggerated way, and often in the good sense of exaggeration. So we really don't have a counterpart for that in English, and this is the example that would kind of illustrate the point. But we will show how this relates now to the Arabic in Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim on the next slide, inshallah. Okay, so now getting back to Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, let's take a look at Ar-Rahim. We had said that in Arabic you can have a construction that is a construction of exaggeration. And so if I have the verb in Arabic, rahima, he showed mercy, the equivalent of eater in English, simply the one who shows mercy, would be ar-rahim or rahim. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not referred to as Ar-Rahim, He's referred to as Ar-Rahim. So what is the difference? Well, Ar-Rahim would be that صيغة المبالغة, that exaggerated action of the verb, the equivalent of super eater, super merciful. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had just wanted to say that He was the merciful, in Arabic He would have said Ar-Rahim. But instead, He refers to Himself as Ar-Rahim. And in Arabic, again, that construction is the construction of showing that that verb is done to a great intensity, to a very high degree, to a superlative amount. And that is the connotation of Ar-Rahim because it is Sighat al-Mubalagha. Then what would Ar-Rahman be? How do we deconstruct that in the Arabic? And let's think of it this way. Even if I'm a super eater, sometimes I'm not eating. I may then decide to go on a diet or to fast. Or if I am super kind, that is relating to the verb. When I am kind, I'm being very, very, very kind. But I can stop being kind. Something else happens and I'm bothered and I'm no longer kind. Then there is a different extraction of the verb that is known in Arabic as as-sifa al-mushabbaha. And as-sifa al-mushabbaha means that it is an intrinsic quality. It is not something I turn off and turn on, but that it is part of the essence of the person or the thing that is being talked about. So we can give some examples in Arabic. So for example, a person, you take the verb ghadiba, he was angry. Person who does that, who simply does that, ism al-fa'il is ghadib. But if his intrinsic nature is angry, you say ghadban. So Rahman is this, or one could argue that it is a type of construction similar to as-sifa al-mushabbaha, that it is the intrinsic nature of mercy. And that is personally how I like to think of the two verbs, ar-Rahman, the two qualities, ar-Rahman and ar-Rahim. That ar-Rahman is the essence of mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He is the most entirely merciful. That is, His essence is mercy. And then ar-Rahim is the tremendous amount of mercy that is lavished on people in this construction of exaggeration of the verb, so that ar-Rahman is the essence and ar-Rahim is the manifestation of that essence. It is the external manifestation of the essence of mercy being lavished onto the worlds. That's how I personally think about it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. And to bolster this notion of ar-Rahman as the essence, we point out that it is the only one of the 99 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that acts as a synonym for Allah. So in Surah Al-Isra, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, قُلِ ادْعُوا اللَّهَ أَوْ ادْعُوا الرَّحْمَنَ. Call upon Allah or call upon Ar-Rahman, the most merciful. And in Surah Al-Furqan, وَعِبَادُ الرَّحْمَنِ الَّذِينَ يَمْشُونَ عَلَى الْأَرْضِ هَوْنًا. That the true servants of the most compassionate are the ones who walk upon the earth humbly. Instead of saying Ibadullah, the servants of Allah, Ar-Rahman substitutes in for Allah. And that makes me feel better about this Arabic understanding that Ar-Rahman connotes the essence. And that is why it can substitute in as a synonym of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Quran does not use any of the other attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as synonyms that simply replace, they describe, but Ibadur Rahman, Udu Allah, Udu Rahman, pray to Allah, pray to the Rahman, the servants of Ar-Rahman. So that bolsters this contention that Ar-Rahman is the essence and Ar-Rahim is the manifestation of that essence. But once again, that's only part of the shade of meaning that is going on here. Okay, so now we are at verse 4, Maliki Yawmiddin, and the reflection here, it is master of the day of judgment. And so ad-din we often, translate, of course, as religion, but in this particular circumstance, it is recompense. It is everybody getting what they deserve. So Yawmiddin is the day of recompense when all accounts are settled. And so that is the day of judgment. So I'd like to just get that portion done first, that this has the connotation that the day when all accounts will be settled. Everyone will get exactly what they have earned, what they deserve, and that is the meaning of ad-din in this connotation or in this construction. Now we come to Maliki, and Malik here is derived from al-milk, ownership. So one translation would be that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the owner of the day of judgment. It belongs entirely to Him. He is the one who judges. There will be no intercession without His leave. There will be no other input unless He subhanahu wa ta'ala sanctions it. There will be no other influence. He owns it entirely. Now, it is important, though, to point out, and you may have heard this again, praying behind some imams or reciting yourself, if this is the way you recite, you know that a variant reading is, instead of Maliki Yawmiddin, is Maliki Yawmiddin. And Malik comes from mulk, dominion, and Malik would be the Arabic word for king. So he is the ruler or the king of the day of judgment. And both readings are legitimate readings. And as I said, you may have heard one imam say Maliki Yawmiddin, then you go to another mosque, pray behind another imam, he says Maliki Yawmiddin. And some people say that that is why it is written in the Quran with this little alif here instead of a big alif, so that it can accommodate both readings. So that if you want to read it as Maliki Yawmiddin, you can do it. If you want to read it as Maliki Yawmiddin, you can do it. And there is, and of course we know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referred to in the Quran elsewhere, like in Surah Al-Hashr, as Al-Malik Al-Quddus, the king or the one who has dominion. So that is used. It is in Surah Taha, فَتَعَالَى اللَّهُ الْمَلِكُ الْحَقِّ, Surah An-Nas, قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ مَلِكِ النَّاسِ. So it is very legitimate to also consider that here it is Malik instead of Malik. And in this case, again, it's this similar shade of meaning, that he has the sole dominion of the day of judgment. And all of the power and all of the glory and all of the might and all of the majesty that would be attached to a worldly king, multiply that now by infinity, because it is now the king of the day of judgment or the day of recompense. And there's a debate about whether every Malik is a Malik, is every owner a king, does he have dominion, or is every Malik a Malik, is every king an owner, and so forth. I like to think of it as both simultaneously, that it is Malik or Malik. Personally, I read it as Malik when I am praying, but I just again wanted to point out both readings and both shades of meaning. And to get back to the point that we made about Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, is it the first verse of Surah Al-Fatiha or is it just a separator? When we see these, again, it should lead us to flexibility and open-mindedness and tolerance in our faith. Someone will say Malik, someone will say Malik. God bless, all is good. The last thing I would like to point out is that there is yet another reading where this is not Maliki. Here the kasra in Arabic would make it Maliki, but some people recite Malika Yawmiddin. Now, why would you do that? Because they consider that there's a dropped letter, Ya Malika Yawmiddin, O owner of the day of judgment. Because you know that after this verse, we transition from talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to talking to him. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. We then begin our supplications and our prayers to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So some people, if they want to read this or recite this as Malika Yawmiddin, that means in Arabic it would be Ya Malika Yawmiddin, O owner of the day of judgment, or O master of the day of judgment, or O Lord of the day of judgment. And they begin the process of supplication and address to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly from his humble servants, beseeching him, asking him with this verse. So if you read it as Maliki, as I do, this is still describing the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but the minority reading Malika Yawmiddin, then that group in their mind, in the Arabic, they have now transitioned from talking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim and saying, O owner of the day of judgment, I am now beginning my supplications to you. So let me again stop part 2 here so that no one presentation is too long, but I am hoping that I am bringing across the symphony of meanings, the bouquet of colors and shades and nuances that make this Fatiha and the Quran as a whole so rich and so incredible. Okay, so please join us for part 3, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum, take care, and God bless.